right, so Caleb Williams is a 22-year-old Afro-Latino, I think, future All-Pro Super Bowl championship winning quarterback for my Chicago Bears. I always believed it was Caleb Williams. Ignore any tweets you've seen about me maybe being a Justin Fields guy and saying that I was going to cut off my locks if he got traded. Definitely got hacked for that tweet. Definitely got hacked. So Caleb is in the news right now, or was in the news a week ago because I'm late with this shit, because he was at a USC girls basketball game and had a awkward Gen Z moment where he waved at the crowd and people thought that he had on lip gloss and fingernail polish and noticed that his phone was pink. Now the only thing that was true about that is the fact that his phone was pink, but Caleb came out after the fact and pointed out that he did not have on fingernail polish or anything else. It was just kind of the weird coloring of the camera that was used.
So wallet white.
The wallet's white.
Phone is pink. Case is clear.
What the fingernails?
Nails are clear. Lips are pink. Your girl love them.
However, this is not the first time that people have been trying to question and police Caleb's presentation of his masculinity. And this is kind of interesting because somebody tweeted out a very significant point that Caleb is likely going to be the NFL's first Gen Z superstar. Like, Caleb Williams was born in 2002.
Bro was born in 2001. I was born in 2001. Does that make me Gen Z, bro? November 18th. My birthday's on November 16th. Yeah, if y'all don't know, Caleb Williams, he's a now he's a pro football player, but everyone's been getting on him because of him wearing dresses, his fashion sense and everything. But this ain't nothing new. This ain't like nothing we ain't never seen before, man. I'm not the one to try to tell nobody how to dress or tell nobody how to be and express himself. Plus, the dude is making money, but I'm not going to try to pause it too much. I'm going to let FD talk.
In 2002, along with that, Caleb is also probably the first true NIL superstar to come out of college football. For those who don't know, NIL stands for name and likeness, which is a fancy or not so fancy way of pointing out that Caleb was able to make some serious money as a college football player. That's something I think just started in like 2020, whereas the previous 70 years of the NCAA for all college.
That's what I was saying. He's probably making money off of doing these deals with nail polish brands, fashion brands. Because they just recently started paying athletes in the NCAA, and finally that's happened. But it's sad that it's taken this long to get to this point. But again, I'm trying not to pause too much.
College athletes meant that you could not get paid anything really for all the work you put in or all the money you were making for the NCAA or whatever school you were going to. The NIL changed that and meant that at least the bigger stars of college sports could get endorsement deals and do different things with their name and likeness to make sure they got paid. As such, many college football megastars are millionaires before they enter the league. And aside from the fact that that's a much more fair deal for them to actually get paid for their grueling labor, it also means that these leagues have a little less power over them and that they feel a little more inclined to do what they want. And that's kind of what Caleb is doing. I think that's also a Gen Z thing. I think, I don't know if you can put like an old man filter behind me or something. Gen Z is growing up with the foresight or aftersight of the internet, which means they have a relatively strong understanding of the world as young people. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but the product of that is that they kind of don't give a fuck about our institutions and like.
He's right. We don't give a fuck, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, we in the age where you don't have to worry about all these stipulations and these stamps and these stereotypes. I mean, not to say that they don't exist, but that's not how the world moves anymore. The world has progressed. And I get it. Some people, that's progressive thinking. But listen to me. If you're an older person, that's not part of this generation. Y'all once was doing things that generations before you thought, oh, that's the devil stuff, or oh, that's negative. We used to do it this way. Gas used to be 59 cents, now it's $1.09. When my generation, gas is damn near $3 to $5, and in some states $7. Let's get to that.
Like traditions and things that we tell them they're supposed to do, if they can go and check the history of that thing and say, that thing seems like it sucks, we're not doing it. So that's kind of what Caleb Williams is doing, at least when it comes to his sense of fashion and the way he's presenting to the world. Caleb Williams is, I don't want to call him genderqueer, but he is definitely more progressive or eclectic in his presentation than your average NFL player, especially a quarterback. And for those who don't understand, the quarterback is like the president of the team. He's the front face of a football And for the most part, even the more flamboyant quarterbacks aren't kind of presenting the things that Caleb Williams is presenting to us right now. And thus, this moment and previous incidents with Caleb Williams is bringing back the he put on a dress type energy for NFL players, except it's getting out of the black barbershop and it's just on sports Twitter in general. And as you can imagine, it's fucking horrible. I've already talked about the whole he put on the dress, emasculation thing is bullshit. I'll probably have to talk about it again because it's just the dumb idea that keeps on giving. This time in particular, though, it does feel more frustrating aside from the fact that we are talking about my quarterback. But also, there's all these white men joining in on fun, and it just takes on an extra level of ick in that situation. And to me, the most ridiculous part of it is that we've seen this before, and we've seen it much more drastically, yet people still, are pulling this culture wars nonsense around what happened to real men and what's happening to the youth, etc. when
Right, that's what I was saying. Like, there's always going to be a generation that says, "Oh, what happened to this? What happened to that?" Well, we changed. We changed the whole thing, right? We changed how people are viewed. Now people have a different type of representation. They can identify themselves more. And you can debate that. Oh, it's too many groups. It's too many. It needs to be one type of way. But when you have different people that comes from different backgrounds and different environments, you're going to be influenced, especially when it comes to the internet. Sorry, I've had kids. Y'all about to have it. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad for you guys, but parents, please monitor what your kids are watching. That's all I can say.
Literally, this was a thing. This is Ricky Williams along with his, at the time, future football coach, Mike Ditka.
Damn. See what I'm saying? This is nothing new. So why do we still have the same reaction when a rapper paints his nails or wears a dress or whatever the case may be? And they've been doing this since before my time, before your time. Let's see what else he has to say.
Legendary Chicago football coach, I might add. Way back in 1999. Now, the story behind this is that Mike Ditka, being kind of a maverick type of guy himself, was letting it be known that he was going to draft Ricky Williams. He was willing to trade away all of his draft picks to make it happen, which is something like you shouldn't ever do, and you definitely shouldn't tell people that you plan to do that. So that's a whole other football conversation. But to commemorate this unique moment in football history, this was their idea, this marriage of Ricky Williams and his future coach. And you can make some critiques of how this does look from a racial standpoint, considering the history of black men and how, while the he put on a dress narrative is some nonsense, the feminization and demasculation of black men historically from slavery is a thing that did exist. So if you want to critique it through that lens, I get it, but that's not what people did. People just said, that nigga gay.
Right. And my generation said, "Oh, that nigga gay." He GPS, he's doing his thing. But it's not that you go and attack them. You just kind of just acknowledge, like what Riley said. Like if you watch the Boondocks in that one episode, the kid dancing at lunch on the lunch table, he was doing some, moves, right? And Riley had something to say. He said, nigga, that's gay, right? And when they confronted him about him saying that, he said, I saw gay, so I said gay. Simple as that, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that the man or woman is gay. It just might be doing or expressing themselves. But in this case, it's an ESPN cover from the 90s of a head coach, white at that, and a black athlete with a wedding dress on. Yeah. We come far, y'all. We come far. Let's continue.
That's what they did. And that's what they continue to do. That nigga gay is the height of some people's criticism when it comes to gender and masculinity. It is what it is. All that said, Ricky Williams, all 5'10", 240 pounds of him, went on to have an all-time great NFL career as a running back, went on to stay out the spotlight for the most part, married a woman, had a bunch of kids, smoked a lot of weed from what I understand. It was really not a big deal. A bigger deal maybe you can make going back to Chicago again. We are really at the center of a lot of this shit. That's interesting. Is Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman, 3 years before this, of his own volition, went to a book signing in a complete wedding dress along with makeup. This was at the height of his popularity, at the height of the Bulls' popularity.
That's what I'm saying.
And this really wasn't the first time they had done this type of gender-bending, queer-coded activity. That was part of his gimmick. And while this is somewhat unique with these athletes because their large black male bodies give more credence to certain ideas about the realities of black masculinity and the image of the big black brute, it still is part of a tradition that black men have been participating in for generations now. The reality is that black men who have the power and capacity to escape the normative expectations of what black masculinity is supposed to be have kind of always done that, especially if they're celebrity status, especially if they're superstars, especially if it's something that gets them paid. And I don't understand why the relatively minor transgressions of Caleb Williams are bringing him this same negative attention, aside from the fact that I feel like people are more stupid now because of social media. Like, you can go all the way back to James Brown, Ronald Isley, Prince. Today you have Lakeith Stanfield, Young Thug, and so on. Part of it.
Oh, he has a good point. He has a good point. Let me play that back.
That I feel like people are more stupid now because of social media. Like, you can go all the way back to
hair, the mascara. But he was still a ladies' man, right?
James Brown,
Ronald Isley. Ooh, baby. Come on now. That's his love-making song to a woman. But that's how they dressed in the 60s. Look, the 70s.
Isley, Prince. Today,
Prince. Come on now. And then look at Steve Lacy, right? To me, he's our modern-day Prince of music when it comes to the whole gimmick, when it comes to the whole look, right? But if you remember, Prince, towards the end of his career, he was the whole homophobia thing, right? But still being him, dressing how he wanted to just chest out, ass out. But ladies still loved him. Tyler, the Creator, well-known guy when he first started off in the scene. He was faggot this, faggot that, faggot rap, faggot that. Later on down the road, Igor, Flower Boy, come on now. But it's the whole style, it's their taste, it's the expression. Doesn't necessarily mean yay. It might look like that from a distance, but let people be is what I'm saying, right? This is nothing new.
You have Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith Stanfield. Come on now. He's like one of the most, in my opinion. I've been watching his career for a long time, way before Get Out. If you remember, that was the first time he made a blockbuster scene with Jordan Peele. I follow him on. I've been following his career, watching his interviews and his IG. He does a lot of things outside of on screen. He does music, travels a lot. He has a son. But let me stay on topic. I don't want to glaze too much. I don't want to glaze. But Lakeith Stanfield is he's put on a dress. He's painted his nails, especially black a lot. But he's a straight male. He's just that character that I won't say flamboyant. He's like that good type of weird archetype, very conscious, intelligent, smart black actor. But yeah, he's always been this way since the beginning. So this was nothing new. And to see him use an example was a good one, and very modern too.
Young Thug and so on.
Young Thug. Red lipstick, if you remember that picture. The dress. Now, apparently, it was supposed to be a AK under that dress. It's part of the style, it's part of the culture. But again, it could have been just in a moment type thing for the hype, whatever you want to call it. But Young Thug, y'all, come on, y'all. Influential.
Part of it is purely for attention. Part of it is self-expression. But the point is that this idea that black men can't present in this way and be straight and masculine doesn't have any basis in reality. We've understood this on numerous occasions throughout history, yet every time a new version of it pops up, some really dumb person starts tweeting or talking about it in a barbershop. And that's where we are right now. And I really want to drive that point home, that this was all just about presentation, because all these men were pretty traditionally masculine outside of their presentation of dress. Ironically, Prince, later in his life, was low-key homophobic. He was the
I told y'all
most queer-coded homophobe that history has ever given us. If you watched Ricky Williams or Dennis Rodman play their respective sports, then you had no question about the level of intensity and aggression and any other masculine-coded emotion or trait that you might think of.
Dennis Rodman is my spirit animal, by the way. Just saying.
Was definitely present for them on the court and the field. And I'm not saying this to imply that it would be bad if it wasn't. It would be bad for them because they're athletes. But just the way that we are so inclined to strip certain positive traits from men who don't present in a traditionally masculine way, it does not make sense. And it doesn't make sense furthermore because we've seen it so many times and we tend to forget that it exists as soon as these men present in some other way. Like right now, half of the hip hop culture world is rooting for Young Thug to beat this weird RICO case happening here in Atlanta. And I was there 10 years ago when Young Thug was wearing a dress. And
he ain't lying though. Niggas was on Young Thug's ass about that fucking dress. Even before the dress, but when that dress came out, niggas was on his ass. But when time passes, and for example, like he's using with the RICO case, bruh, the whole community, hip hop community is on his side, right? People, let me say, people don't forget, but like they never fail to remind you is what I'm saying. Like you can still continue with your life and everything, but with you being in the limelight as a celebrity, as an artist, whatever, as a mainstream is what I'm saying. You're going to be the example people look up to. Now, I'm not saying y'all should believe in these people being your savior. Because listen, LeBron ain't your savior, J. Cole ain't your savior, Kendrick ain't your savior, Young Thug ain't your savior. But these are the people that are brought to the forefront. So they're being nitpicked in every way. And when it comes to being a black man in the community and doing these things, those things get frowned upon. It's like, brother, right? But people forget. But they will bring it up, let you slip up as a black man, right? So it's like, But like FD said, it's nothing new. We've seen this over and over and over and over and over. All right, I'm gonna stop pausing.
RICO case happening here in Atlanta. And I was there 10 years ago when Young Thug was wearing a dress, and the same old heads that are mad about him being arrested now were calling him the gay antichrist of hip hop and saying hip hop is dead. And in between that, we're jamming to all of the dope songs that he made. It really, really doesn't make any sense. And it's frustrating because this is not a complex analysis I'm bringing to y'all right now. This is as simple as, nigga, do you pay attention? Nigga, do you remember what happened historically?
That's what I just said. People are paying attention. But do you remember what happened? They always gonna bring up what happened before while you trying to cultivate yourself, evolve as a black man in this world. People always gonna try to remind you of your past, and they have a life has a funny way of doing it too, especially now with social media, a digital footprint. You know what I'm saying? It's like a free archive or archive, however you say it, but a digital footprint is like a free archive for what you've done and what you want to display and share, versus when you walk out in public, no cameras on you, you're just a regular civilian. But being a black man in this case is always, oh, they're gay. And then it's back to silence and back to the next thing. And then back to it again once you slip up. Oh, remember you was doing that gay shit, nigga? Remember that gay shit you was doing? We ain't forget. I'm just saying.
It really, really doesn't make any sense. And it's frustrating because this is not a complex analysis I'm bringing to y'all right now. This is as simple as, nigga, do you pay attention? Nigga, do you remember what happened historically? That's it. I did not use any degrees to notice this same play happening over and over again. I just have a memory and the ability to not get locked into the same ideological bot framework that a lot of dudes sadly are locked into. And that's the thing I really want to point out, is that it's be the same type of dudes that call themselves free thinkers that will pull out the same argument over and over again, no matter how obvious that this is not a free thinker argument. Because when people attack dudes like Caleb Williams or historically Dennis Rodman or Young Thug, it's never actually about them. It's never actually about the target of this quasi-homophobic or at least derisive energy toward these black men in the public eye. It's always about the individual, and I'm be honest, insecure men that feel the need to police other men as a way to prop up their own fragile masculinity. That's
seen that a million times growing up. The most insecure dude in class, loud doing this. Now, I've been in class myself, but I've never been the one to assassinate someone's character or anything like that, right? And then downplay them. But I've seen it with my own two eyes. Insecure dude, nothing going on. Just bullshitting, and then when they find that open window to attack another black man's character, oh, that nigga gay, that nigga gay, you like that, that nigga gay, just for quick laughs and kiki. He ain't lying though.
Just keeping it a buck with y'all. Going into my sociology bag for a second, there is a phenomenon where younger men or men less secure in their masculinity feel the need to attack other men or challenge other men's sexuality or sexual identity as a way of affirming their own. And that's some weak shit, just to keep it real. It's not just weak-minded, it's weak of spirit, and it's, childish. Like, this is where pause and no homo come from. And although I know there is comedic...
Listen, I have participated in a pause or that nigga gay, right? Because I was in the culture. I was part of the problem. I was part of the issue, right? And I've gotten better. We all grow up, right? I ain't like other people out here that's lynching and wearing blackface on Halloween. But when it comes to attacking other black men, I have participated in that. But I had to grow the fuck up. I had to separate myself from that type of behavior. Because at the end of the day, especially when you combine the things of being insecure, ain't got shit going on, and you're in that environment, you become your environment, right? So you become part of the problem. Just saying. Just saying.
Utility in pause and no homo. If you're doing it past like the age of 20, what are you really doing? It's weak of spirit, and it's where younger men or men less secure in their masculinity feel the need to attack other men or challenge other men's sexuality or sexual identity as a way of affirming their own. And that's some weak shit, just to keep it real. It's not just weak-minded, it's weak of spirit, and it's, childish. Like, this is where pause and no homo come from. And although I know there is comedic utility in pause and no homo, if you're doing it past like the age of 20, what are you really doing? What are you really doing? You shouldn't be doing it at all, but just like, at least as younger men, younger boys who are involved in that volatile reality of trying to figure out what masculinity is, I can make sense of it. As you get older, it's just unfiltered homophobia. But the idea of being nice to gay people is so far from certain folks' perspective on how the world should work that we are now showing videos of 22-year-olds with pink phones who are about to be multi-millionaires playing the most aggressive masculine sport in America and having the nerve to question their masculinity on your little keyboards with your thumbs. I don't know how else to speak to this nonsense. Leave my quarterback alone.
Anyways, that's leave Caleb Williams alone. I had spoke about that last night with the whole dress thing and everything. Yeah, man. Just be careful what you say to other people, man. You don't know what that does to them and what they got going on. Or if they just simply just being themselves and just expressing themselves. But to attack another black man, bro, that's so low. Especially when you're grown. You a grown-ass man. Still talking about another grown-ass man and what he got going on? Bro, he might be doing way better than you at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? But y'all got to take care of yourselves, and I'm doing the same, man.